Okay, so we completed 2 units. So with the last class, we ended chemical synthesis of nanostructured materials and the physical methods of fabrication of nanostructured materials. Anybody would like to make some comments, clarifications, suggestions, additions? Make some tough questions? We'll go ahead to next unit.
Yes, sir.
Yes? Okay. So we'll move to next unit, which essentially deals with the green synthesis of nanomaterials. And these are the content that we are going to see or learn. General approach for the green synthesis principles, green synthesis of metals, some specific metals and alloys. And you will see that the plants are nanofactories. Plants are nanofactories or use of natural resources, including microorganisms or related species for synthesis of nanostructured materials. At the end of this unit, we will dwell on microwave synthesis that is very much practiced even commercially. So statistically, the number of hours is given here as 9 hours, but I think I admit that it won't be 9 hours, maybe a little less, definitely less, very less. Okay, so green synthesis. What is green synthesis? What are the green synthesis principles? Examples, use of natural feedstocks, including biosynthesis and microwave synthesis. So these are the content that we are going to see. Okay, so anybody would like to add anything from previous class? We'll go ahead. Am I audible? My screen is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What comes to your mind when you hear this or when you see the term green synthesis? Can anyone or few of you can elaborate? What comes to your mind? Green synthesis.
Fabrication of nanomaterials from plants.
Okay, so what's your name? Said Raman or who?
Sedram.
Sedram. Good, good. Okay, so the moment Raman sees this green synthesis, it comes to his mind that fabrication of nanostructured materials using plant extract. Oh, such so many words are under buried. Good. Any other thing? Anything else?
Sir, safe and non-toxic way of synthesis.
Safer way of synthesis of nanostructured materials is the another translation green synthesis. Good. Yes. So then what are the safe? What are the safe
Pollution
protocols?
free, sir.
Yes,
It
sir.
is pollution free.
Environment friendly.
Eco-friendly.
Then today's class is done. You all know everything. I can go to the department. You all know green synthesis. Anything else?
Eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly. Eco-friendly green synthesis. No harming. Fabrication. Anything else?
Sir, this will be used as an alternative to other chemical synthesis methods.
Okay, so this can be used as an alternative method for synthesis of a nanostructure by conventional methods, that is essentially chemical synthesis. Why we have to use this alternative method? That is the point. Then there are some problem with the conventional ways of making nanostructured materials, isn't it? Yes. This can be an alternative, but why we have to go for this? Where already ready-made synthetic processes are available. Chemical synthesis, salt gel, reduction, precipitation, hydrothermal, solvothermal, or microemulsion, self-assembly, all those CVD, all are available. When the readily available procedures are available, why we have to go for this green synthesis? What makes people to adopt these green protocols, green synthesis procedure? There is something should be there, right, which will benefit the human or society or the process itself. Then only there can be an alternative. Otherwise, there is no requirement for alternative. There is some problem with the existing processes that can be addressed in the alternative method. That's why then only the alternative process has some meaning in that. Otherwise, no need to go for alternative process. Correct? Yes. Okay, so these are the problems that we encounter with the conventional ways of making nanostructured materials. So whether it is a CVD process, a sol gel process, hydrothermal process, or solid state ceramics, anything, these are some of the issues that we face. In many processes, the energy that is being utilized for the generation of the materials is large. CVD process, 2-3 days. It takes 2-3 days of process. If you want to make carbon nanotube, so you need to have a carbon source, carrier gas, reduction, atmosphere, inert atmosphere, temperature, which all requires the energy. And many a time, the products formed are not the only desired product. There are byproducts, several byproducts. Unnecessary byproducts are formed in any process. Maybe in sol gel it may not be, but in a hydrothermal, solvothermal, reduction, precipitation, CVD, all these processes, there can be an additional product which are not requiring. What you intend, that is not only forming, what is intended, unintended product also forming byproducts. You need to separate it. You need to separate the carbon nanotube from the metals or catalyst, either magnetic separation or acid leaching or sonication, ultrasonication, etc. You need to process it. Many a time, the starting materials involved are hazardous, sometimes carcinogenic. Hazardous, not only hazardous, and carcinogenic. So what is the precursor for sol gel method, sol gel process? Precursor for sol gel process. Long silent. What is the precursor for sol gel process?
Metal oxide.
Metal oxide is the product, or oxides are the nano oxide networks are the product.
Alkoxide.
What is
Silicon alkoxide, sir.
Alkoxides, right?
Chloride.
Alkoxides, metal alkoxides, TEOS, tetraethoxysilane, tetramethoxysilane, or any other such material. What did we learn from them? They are hazardous. Not only they are hazardous, they are highly reactive. And not only they are hazardous and reactive, they are very expensive. And with the expense of all these things, and you want to synthesize nanomaterials by sol gel process. And many a time solvent contaminations, whether you do reduction precipitation or self-assembly, there is a use of solvent, even hydrothermal use of solvent. If it is a water, may not be a big issue. Even sometimes water can be an issue. If it is other than water, then you need to remove. You need to discharge it. Where will you discharge? In the environment, into the environment. If it is some organic solvents, DMSO or benzene, hexane, etc., all you discharge into the environment. You think it will make an aesthetic aspect to the environment? No. Any chemical is dangerous. Any chemical is hazardous to human health and biotic component on the environment. And overall, the production cost also increases because energy supplied, time consumed, hazardous materials, all these also are linked with the production cost of any process, CVD process, for example, or microemulsion, self-assembly for that matter, expensive sometimes. So how to get rid of all these issues? So thanks to this great man, with the great professor, Professor Paul Anastas of Yale University, he has developed a new concept, maybe about 15-20 years before. I think it was in 1991. A new protocol he has designed and named it as a green synthesis or green processes. Green synthesis or green processes. In fact, he is originally belongs to UK, so then later on moved to Yale University, Paul Anastas, and he is fondly known as father of green chemistry. Father of green chemistry. There is a father of chemistry. There is a person, please find it. Who is the father of chemistry? And he is father of green chemistry. And he has designed a protocol. If any processes which adopt those principles or processes or protocols, you can name them as a green synthesis or green processes. It essentially deals with the design of chemical products or processes that are environmentally friendly and they do not impact negatively on the environment and human health. A green synthesis or green protocol deals with the designing of a chemical product. Need not be a chemical product, it can be a process also, that are more environmentally benign or environmentally friendly and reduce any ill effect on the human health and environmental system. Whether it may be a synthesis of gold, silver, carbon nanotube, or making transistor or any other products or processes can it be. If they adopt such impact, then you can name such processes as green processes, green protocols, or green synthesis. We have got ecosystem. The Mother Earth has given us. In the ecosystem, we have several components, several elements. Several elements we have in the ecosystem. It may be air, soil, land, water. Correct? Not it, maybe it is. Air, soil, land, water. Maybe fire also you can add. 5 elements. Whether we like it or whether we take it or not, we believe it or not, from these 5 elements, the whole life is surviving. Whether it could be a well-being of a human being, or providing food to the humans, animals, or building a strong economy to the nation, need not be only United Nations, United States, or any nations, and also the public health. How efficiently, how properly we utilize these natural resources which are part of the ecosystem will be able to benefit out of them. From these natural resources, water, land, soil, maybe sea also, enormous wealth in the sea also, enormous wealth in the sea also. How we utilize these natural resources, we will be able to benefit much out of them. Not only well-being, food, economic security, and health. But unfortunately, we are not using it properly. We are not using it properly. When I say we are not using it properly, it means that there are drivers for damaging all these natural resources. It may be a man-made, mostly man-made. If it is a natural made, it will recover on its own, maybe in a shorter time. The man-made damages to the ecosystem, difficult to repair it. Very difficult to repair it. We have already started witnessing the global warming, the effect of pollution, effect of air pollution, effect of land, soil, any pollution for that matter. We already started experiencing climate change, global warming. Some parts of some parts are getting too much rain. Some parts of the globe are not getting rain. Some parts are getting landslide. Even therefore, yesterday there was a huge landslide in Haryana. Would have witnessed it. So many
Uttarakhand.
Uttarakhand, yeah, Uttarakhand. Okay, avalanche. Okay, so how we make use of these natural resources will be able to get benefit, but unfortunately, so it may be a selfishness of humans to exploit these natural resources, but we damage. Sea is damaged, air is damaged, land is damaged, and deforestation has been made. The whole ecosystem has been disconnected. No continuity or interrupted continuation. Supposed to be linked, interlinked, but there is a dip. All the lands are progressively getting transformed into plots, industrial areas, and the air is not the same air how it was there maybe 20 years, 30 years, 50 years before. Water, definitely. During my students' days, 20 years before, we can draw the water from the ground and you can consume it directly without using filters. Now it is very difficult. You can consume, but not in all places. So the pollution has gone penetrated into that much level. You cannot draw water from the ground and you cannot consume simply. It will make ill effect to the health. So many debris in the sea. So many debris in the seas. The whole ecosystem has been changed. We started witnessing the global warming, climate change, land wind pattern has changed, rain pattern has been changed. Definitely, it has changed. Okay, so there were usable seasons for cultivation that has been slowly changed because of the degradation of the environment. So it means that the human activities, whatever we interact with the environment, has largely impacted. Largely not positively impacted, unfortunately, negatively in fact impacted. All these natural resources are getting depleted, degraded. Depletion is natural. Maybe if there's a limitation, then it is okay, depletion. But using which we have degraded the ecosystem for the human benefit. At the expense of human quality of life, we have degraded the earth, the mother earth, which is supposed to be borrowed from our future generation. We should give back. That is the attitude of any countryman in any country. You would not have heard about sustainability last 20 years before, previous 20 years before. Last 20 years are also most of the government agencies, including private agencies, they are talking about sustainability. Sustainability, greener approach, not harming the environment, not exploiting the natural resources, ecosystems, preserve them as much as possible so that the future generation will also get benefit of it. In all, our activities, human activities, largely impacted, already impacted on the environment. Definitely, whatever the activities that we do on the environment, which affects the environment. Definitely. You will see that at the end of this slide, the green synthesis process or green protocols lies at the heart of the sustainability. So if you adopt green synthesis protocols or green synthesis, all the ecosystem to the maximum extent can be preserved. We need to have industrial ecology. Definitely we require industrial ecology. But how it has been implemented, how it is being implemented is very important. Not just to throw away all the lands, suddenly transform into industrial areas or plots, apartment, building, constructions, etc. What we supposed to do? If you are taking some land which is having some natural resources, natural compatibility, natural biotic component, we should find an alternative. We should find an alternative so that whatever the biotic component that we consume at the expense of industrialization or urbanization or plotting or anything, so that you can compensate it. In all, our approach for any process should be sustainable in nature. Sustainable nature, so that you don't finish yourself. You save something for your generation also, so that they will not starve. Similarly, you preserve the mother earth so that our future generation also will get benefit out of that. Whether it is a water, air, clean air, or soil, land, whatever for that matter, all the 5 elements. So it means that it forces us to adopt green synthesis protocols. It forces us to move towards a greener approach so that it will be environmentally benign and the mother earth can be preserved for the future generation. So green synthesis lies at the heart of the industrial ecology. It should go well ahead of industrial ecology. Industrial ecology is required for economic growth of any country or any nation. But equally, we should also focus on the green protocols or sustainable development so that we preserve the mother earth. From these natural elements only we are getting all these things. If this is degraded, this is highly interlinked, this also will get affected. You will have ill effect on the health. There will be a trouble for the supply chain for the food, or the economic corridor will be disturbed, and the well-being, you will have everything, but you will not have the good health. That's how. Highly interlinked. How we do all these activities on the environment will impact on these natural resources, and eventually sometime or later it's going to affect all these benefits. So better let us be prepared for adopt any processes to be greener in nature, cleaner in nature. You will see that green synthesis is going to be a mandatory, can be made as a mandatory for any processes. Can be made as a mandatory for any processes. So this green synthesis is all about reducing waste, reducing materials, reducing toxicity, reducing risk of accident, or reducing energy. Green synthesis is all about reduction in the wastage, reduction in the use of starting materials, reduction in the use of hazardous materials, reduction in the risk accident, and use lesser energy. It is better to prevent the waste rather than to treat it. It is better to wear the mask. Last 1 year we have been practicing this. It is better to wear the mask instead of getting treated for the COVID after you get infected. Best solution. Similarly, when you do any processes, any synthesis, better to avoid the wastages. Better to avoid the wastage rather than you treat the waste. Additional work, cumbersome, extended work. So this great man, reducing cost also should be a matter, definitely. Reducing cost also should be a matter. Sir, excuse me, sir. I am in online class, sir. Yeah, I will come. Yes, sir. Thank you. So this great man, Professor Paul Anastas, developed principles. Usually principle means there will be only one principle, right? Here there are 12 principles for the green protocols or green synthesis. 12 principles that govern green synthesis or green protocols, green processes. And it is more self-descriptive. I think it doesn't require much explanation. It is mostly storytelling. You know, storytelling. You can read and understand. 12 principles. It is better to prevent waste than to treat or clean up the waste. Exactly, use of mask. The first principle talks about use of mask for the COVID. Similarly, in any processes, you minimize the wastage. Minimize the wastage rather than to clean up after the process. Rather than to clean up the process. It is better to prevent waste than to treat or clean up the waste. This is one process, one principle. Assume that you are preparing gold nanoparticles, and if it generates too much of waste, you have to clean up the vessel. You have to throw it into the environment. All those waste, where it will go? It will go to the environment. You will dump in the environment. It may not be a big mass, but maybe a solvent as a waste. And it is not only you are doing in the green energy technology department. Consider throughout the nation or throughout the globe, how many people will be doing this, and so many wastes are being dumped into the environment. Will definitely requires a cleanup. So better you develop your processes or process that will generate no waste or very little waste. That should be the aim. Then that process or synthetic process or methodology or a protocol can come under green synthesis. Then you are using some starting materials or precursors. Alkoxides we have talked about. Or metal nitrates is an example for starting material. Auric chloride is a starting material, precursor material. Correct? Whenever you use any starting material, the process should be able to consume all the starting material and convert into product. It means we have to maximize the utilization of the raw materials or the starting materials used in any process to get the final product. We call this atom economy. Atom economy. ATOM. ATOM. One atom in the reactant should produce equal number of atoms in the product. It means the use of material is 100%. It's not that you have 100 atoms, but in the product only 10 have come. Let it be for any reaction, any reactant or any product, any process. In reactant, 100 atoms are there, but in product you are getting only 10 atoms. Then the efficiency is only 10%, or the use of atoms in this process is only 10%. 90% is waste. It is linked with the first principle. Then the third is there should not be any toxicity should be associated with the processes that you are doing. Whenever practically possible, any synthetic methodology or any synthetic processes should not generate toxic materials. They are prone to make damage to the human health and the environment. No toxicity, simple word. Third principle. First principle, less waste generation or no waste generation. Second principle is atom economy. Third principle is no toxicity in the process. Then the fourth process is, or fourth protocol or principle is, the chemical product that you are going to get, or the product you are going to get, that should preserve the efficacy function with less toxicity. The whole process, there should not be any toxicity. Even the product should not have any toxicity. It should preserve the efficacy. It should preserve the efficacy and no toxicity or less toxicity. Then in any processes, we have, except in the solid state processes, for example, in the CVD, there is no involvement of solvent. But in most of other processes, there is involvement of solvent. They are required to separate the material product, or it can be a part of the reactions, especially in the case of a sol-gel process, you have to dissolve it in some solvent. Need not be only water, sometimes alcohol, hexane, etc. The use of those solvents should be made unnecessary. We should not use it, that's all. No use of solvents. What will you do with the solvents? You will dump into the environment. That will harm the aquatic system or soil. Unnecessary solvents should be avoided. Then the process should be as smart as possible. It means as quick as possible, so that the energy demanded for the process is minimum. Energy requirement should be minimum as possible. Then it means any synthetic protocols need not be only to make a nanomaterials, or for any processes should consume lesser energy. And lesser energy, so for example, if it involves high temperature, definitely energy requirement also very high. Then you have to preferably choose or select the synthetic processes which can be conducted at the ambient condition and pressure. Otherwise, it requires use of energy. And the duration also, you will have to reduce it so that the energy consumption can be reduced. Okay. Then seventh protocol or principle. Invariably we have to have some starting materials or raw materials, reactant. They should be as much as possible renewable in nature. Excuse me. Morning, Ermale. Ellen, can you give me a few minutes? I am in online class. Maybe 20 minutes. Yeah? Yeah. Maybe I will call you after 12. Yeah. So the raw material should be renewable in nature. The starting material that you are using for any process should be renewable in nature, so that you don't depend on what is available, the non-replenishable systems. Then eighth, unnecessary derivatization or protection or temporary modification of the substances should be avoided. So this, it may be difficult for you to understand what it means. So there is a separate people, organic chemist, who work for pharmaceutical industries or any drug industries. So they don't directly react to get the product from the reactant. So they block something so that they preserve some identity in the functional groups. That additionally requires chemicals or processes, etc. That should be avoided. If you want to get gold, you should directly get gold nanoparticles. So do not come through any other means. If I translate to nanomaterials, maybe it can be like this. If you have to get For example, carbon nanotube, you have to get directly carbon nanotube, not through some other derivatizations. Okay, derivatization should be avoided. Then, wherever possible, use catalytic reagents so that you can maximize the rate of the reactions. And the catalyst should be selective and it should be possible to recover it. Generally, use of catalyst can enhance the rate of the reaction. I'm sure you will agree with me, isn't it? Use of catalyst for any process will hasten the process. Will you agree with me or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir, agree.
Right? So what it does? Catalyst, what it does?
Speed up the reaction.
Speed up the reaction by
Increase the
lowering,
rate of reaction.
increase the rate of the reaction or speed up the rate of the reaction by lowering, some name is there, some energy, activation energy, by lowering the activation energy. Okay. So instead of using, without using a catalyst, if we use a catalyst, maybe lesser, it is possible to conduct the reaction at a fast rate, peak rate. And the catalyst should be selective and it should be possible to recover it. Okay. Then you have selected raw material, cheaper material, less time consuming, all those things, and you are doing the reactions or process. You get the product. Then those product, if it is left, it should undergo natural degradation. They should break down into smaller species and undergo degradation on the environment. So the chemical product should be designed so that at the end of their function, they do not just lie on the environment, nearby bodies, it may be water bodies, soil bodies, or human, but instead they break down into smaller molecules and undergo degradation. So whatever that product you use, and that should not harm the environment. Then wherever possible, in any processes, you integrate instrumentation or analytical techniques so that you can monitor the process in real time against risk, against toxicity, against byproducts, or any hazardous substances that are being formed. So that you will be aware of better knowledge on the toxicity of the process and you can take care. It's not that you conduct the reaction, you send the sample to Pune and you wait for the results after 1 month or 2 months. You may not get sometimes even 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 weeks. It takes some weeks. So by the time you will be continuing your processes and you would have already damaged the environment if anything hazardous substances are formed. So then better on the process site itself, you should have your analytical methodologies or instrument or monitoring system so that you will monitor the any hazardous waste. It can be a gas or a liquid or solid or any accident, leakages, etc. You should have equipment or protocols or procedure, methodology, availability, facilities should take care of real-time monitoring of the process so that immediately it can be attended. Immediately it can be attended. That's the 11th principle, 11th protocol. Then the last protocol is we should minimize accidents in any processes because mostly it is human who do these jobs, synthesis process. There are vessels, automatic vessels, so that you can create large substances. That's okay, but humans are required. So if the process is prone to make explosions, then the unnecessary innocent lives are being lost. We have been seeing. In the beginning of the lockdown, there was a big explosion or leakage in Andhra or Telangana. Some 9 people have died. It's one example, but there are throughout the globe, there are many such instances. due to leakage, accident, cracking, blasting, explosion, fire, all those things are associated with some processes. So the green process that you are going to develop should not have such options. You see that there are 12 principles, and it is very stringent to adopt. Very stringent to adopt. So this slide will give you the terminology that is linked with the 12 principles. Prevention of waste is better than treating. The starting material should have the atom economy. The process should have the atom economy. Use less hazardous chemicals. Design safer chemicals, safer solvents, auxiliaries, or don't use the solvents. We should try to avoid solvents, if at all, safer solvents, auxiliaries. Design efficacy of the process. Toxicity should be less minimum as possible. Use whenever possible renewable feedstock so that you don't depend on the non-replenishable feedstock. Reduce derivatives. Use of catalyst. Design for degradation of the product after end use. And have the real-time monitoring of the pollutant that are being generated in the process. And avoid accident. So if any protocols or procedures or synthetic methodology which adopts all these green principle synthesis, these principles are termed as green synthesis or green synthetic process. So now we will link to nanomaterial synthesis. We have already seen two approaches for nanomaterial fabrication, bottom-up approach and a top-down approach. Bottom-up approach, from molecular and ionic precursor, you are building the nanomaterials, nanostructures. Top-down approach, it is like a stone statue making. From the bulk material, you remove unnecessary portions and you get whatever the size, shape you want. And this green synthesis is more closer to bottom-up approach, which essentially uses extract from the plants and directly use of microorganisms as a reducing medium or conducting reactions. That's why I told initially, plants are nanofactories. They already have the nano features. For example, lotus has a nano feature. It is having a high water repellent surface. Something like a nano coating is there on the lotus leaf already. And we try to mimic for the frames for taxis or dust repellent, water repellent, wrinkle free, etc. Seeing the lotus leaf surface. So you can use extract from the plant. It can be extract from the root or extract from the leaves or extract from the fruit, etc. You believe it or not, lemon juice itself can be used as a reducing agent to reduce RE chloride into RM. And we used to do that practically. Unfortunately, this year I doubt we will be able to because of this lockdown COVID. The extract of neem leaves can also be used as a reducing agent. The green tea or black tea or red tea, not milk tea. Okay. The extract of tea, the tea dust, whether you name it as a green tea or black tea or red tea, it can be used as a reducing agent to reduce RE chloride into RM. I have details on this. So this green synthesis can be conducted using microorganisms as a reducing agent or plant extract. They can act as a reducing agent and it can come under bottom-up approach. These are some, almost all plant extract can be used. It may be from leaves, root, stem, etc. Because they all contain some organic material. They contain organic substances which are prone to undergo oxidation. Then metal ion can be reduced. Tea, flavones. They contain some flavones and flavonoids. They are prone to oxidation. When flavonoids and flavones undergo oxidation, then the Re chloride which contains Au3 plus will get reduced to Au. That's the basis. Similar thing in other natural feedstocks. These are natural feedstock and they are not hazardous and they can be available as long as the earth is existing. Edible mushroom or tamarindus or this one gooseberry, right? What is this? Have you heard about this? Seen? Utilize it? Gooseberry or something like that. Amla.
I
What
think
is
there is
it?
Yes, sir. Amla.
Amla, correct. Amla. Yes. So you can make extract of all these things. Either you make a fresh extract or make it dry and from there you take. Both will serve the purpose. Almond leaves, aloe vera, honey, tannic, all are naturally available feedstocks, using which it is possible to make silver nanoparticle and gold nanoparticles. And we have a experiment, green synthesis of gold using neem extract, tea extract, lemon extract, etc. How gold can be synthesized chemically? This is how one can do this. We have already seen. You take Re chloride, add sodium borohydride or lithium aluminum hydride and heat it for a while. You get Re chloride called golite and some byproducts. Okay, so this is another version. This is Re chloride, chloroauric acid or Re chloride, excuse me. And this is a reducing agent. Instead of borohydride, here we have a trisodium citrate and dissolve it in water, mix them together and heat it. Start heating 10-15 minutes. Gold atom or gold colloids can be seen. Along with that, these are the byproducts. And they are chemicals. They are artificially made chemicals. And if they are with the gold colloid means they will have their effect. Oxidized form of citric acid or pentadienic acid, etc. But the same process can be avoided and it can be conducted using extract from the teas, tea dust, for example, or neem extract also, honey, lemon extract, carrot extract, any extract for that matter. So how will you make tea? How will you make tea? Can anyone summarize how will you make tea?
just put
Summarize
disease
the
in boiling
process
water.
of making tea.
So we shall
Then I will tell you
boil the
how to
milk.
make a gold colloid out of the tea extract. Yes,
First,
one
we
of
will
you
boil
please.
the milk.
We boil
You
water,
will
we put in
you will
and
directly
then
boil the
simmer
milk.
for 15 minutes.
You need to have the tea dust, right? You need to have the tea dust. Okay, so tea fresh leaves are there. It has to be dried properly. How you properly dry will give the flavor or the quality of the tea that you are going to get. Tea extract. Properly dry it. Then, so since this is a process, you need to quantify. You cannot take some amount and dump it and start heating, extract it. No. So since this is a protocol, you need to weigh some amount, maybe 200 milligram or 100 milligram, whatever, depending on the volume that you are going to take it. So the dried tea dust, you weigh it, then boil it for a while, 10-15 minutes. Filter it. At kitchen, maybe you use gas, but maybe in the lab, maybe funnel like this. Then you get extract. If required, you can consume as such, red tea or green tea, Assam tea or Sri Lanka tea, or Kerala tea, Coorg tea, anything. Okay. So this extract can be used as a reducing agent. Can be used as a reducing agent. You take some volume of this tea extract, then start boiling it again. Then add Re chloride some ml, 0.1 ml or some quantified volume, and start eating. And start eating. After 10-15 minutes, a fascinating gold colloid will be found. It used to be very exciting to see this visually. Unfortunately, we will not be able to because of this lockdown. Let's see, maybe it is there. Once you come, we'll have this. This is the tea extract. And after reaction. Unfortunately, here, not chemical reaction, it is biological reaction. Biosynthesis. Green synthesis is also known as biosynthesis. Depending on the concentration of the tea extract that you are using, you tune the color. You tune the color. Have you come across any such principle previously? Concentration dependent synthesis of nanomaterials. When you talked about nucleation and growth, there are practical parameters you can control: time growth, temperature growth, concentration, all those things. Larger the concentration of tea extract, darker the solution, larger the particle generally. So lower the concentration, lower the particle, different color. And this whole process is having any toxicity in it, whether the raw materials are from the natural feedstock, whether too much energy is being consumed, or any risk of accidents are there, or any byproducts are there, or if at all any byproducts are they friendly or they are toxic, what would be your response? What would be your response? Is it hard to follow? Why silent? Tea text is available naturally. Auric chloride, anyway, you have to take it. But instead of sodium borohydrate, that is chemical, here you are using tea dust, tea extract. You can also use neem extract, neem leaves. Neem leaves. Mint, ginger, carrot, lemon, anything, extract from this and add to this auric chloride. Start eating. After a few minutes, you will get gold colloid. Highly greener approach. No external artificial chemicals are involved, no risk, no toxicity, environmentally friendly, water as the solvent, no organic solvents, etc. Many advantages, and it is highly green synthesis. And you see here, 10 years, 20 years before itself, these processes were developed, and they have been published in a very high profile journals. Nature Materials, JMC, very high profile journals. So lemongrass, extract from the lemongrass can be used. Extract from the neem. I'm sure all these South Indians know about this. Mariamma. These neems are available.
Yes,
Neem
sir.
leaves are available. You take the extract. Your seniors are literally, they have plucked tea leaves from the nearby building and made the extract. Mint also, lemon extract also, tea extract, and enjoy the demonstration. I hope you will also. You see here, highly greener approach. Not only that, there are a real number of plant origins from which some extract. It may be a fruit, root, leaves, etc. And these are the nanoparticles they have made. Not only gold, silver, iridium oxide, alloys, for example, sometimes. Bimetallic alloys. And their sizes, you see, 50, 60, highly nanomaterials. And the morphology that you got is triangular, spherical, sometimes non-spherical, crystalline material, cubical, depending on the origin of the extract or the plant origin and the material, and you are going to get some morphology. You see that most of the plant parts are used. In that sense, you can name plants are nanofactories. They already have nano features. but they can provide as a starting material feedstock, and you name it as a nanofactories. Similar to this, some microorganisms, fungi can also be used as a reducing agent because they all contain some organic compound and they can release electrons. So when they undergo oxidation, they release electrons, and those electrons can be used to reduce. You would have heard several years before synthesis of gold at room temperature. This is how it is being made. It takes long time anyway. Days, tens of days to 1 month it takes. What you have to take? You have to take auric chloride, mix it with the fungal or bacteria or microorganisms, and leave it as such for days, several days, 1 month. Then a fascinating color will be generated. You start like this, then you will end up with like this. Use of Fusarium oxyphorum to synthesize gold nanoparticles. Starting is like this, and you end up with like this. Extract and gold colloid. Did it involve any toxic material? Of course, you can tell viruses are toxic. These are all fungi. They are also dangerous, but we need to be careful. But it doesn't involve chemical toxicity and available natural feedstock. And the reaction is not consuming very high temperature, not energy consuming. It can be done at room temperature. And you name these processes as green processes, green synthesis. Not only individual metals, metal colloids, so alloys also can be made. 50-50 composition of gold, silver alloys can be synthesized using Fusarium oxyphorum. You see here their wavelength for absorption. You can tune the SPR band by tuning the concentration of FO, oxyphorum, or the starting materials. Very fantastic approach. Greener approach. You'll be able to distinguish 570 wavelength, 570 nanometer wavelength, and 440, 470, 443 nanometer wavelength. You will be able to distinguish. Both are made from gold colloid, but different appearance. They show different SPR band. 453, 500, sorry, 543, 500, 470, 443 nanometer. This is how I don't know how many of you will be able to appreciate this journal. In 2001, appeared in a very high profile journal, Angevin Chemie. If anyone is publishing in this journal, the quality of the work is very high. Okay. So about 20 years before, people have made auric chloride using verticillium as some microorganisms to synthesize gold nanoparticles. You see that biomass can be used as a reducing agent medium, reaction medium. And these are all their characterization. Maybe next unit we will see, 4th unit. This is the morphology. What is the grain size, shape, and the presence of gold can be detected. And UV visual spectroscopy, X-ray diffraction. Details we will see in the next class. But the take-home point today is, so the naturally available feedstocks, it may be a plant-derived juices or plant-derived extract. It may be from leaf or root, fruit, etc. Or even some microorganisms can be used as a reducing agent to get metals, metal alloys, sometimes metal oxides also. And the process doesn't involve risk. The process doesn't involve use of toxic materials, and it involves use of natural feedstock. The reaction can be conducted at sufficiently low temperature, doesn't consume energy, doesn't consume time, or it's not very expensive, and doesn't involve accident, and either the wastes are treatable easily or there are no waste. Then you name these processes as green synthesis or green synthesis protocols. And all these protocols satisfy 12 principles that we have stated. 12 principles that we have stated. So I think I will stop now. So we will take up the next part in this unit, microwave synthesis. If anybody would like to make some comments, clarification, you can ask.
Sir,
Yes.
when we do this extract of organic materials,
Yeah.
what property of this extract we should consider to take it as an reducing agent?
See, so for example, if you are using tea dust as a feedstock, okay, so it doesn't contain only one organic compound. It contains several organic compounds, flavonoids, and alkaloids, etc. If we can able to separate all these separately, still we can use it. Otherwise, you use as such. Otherwise, you can use as such, and it can still serve the purposes. And it need not be only tea. I mean, the part of the leaves. It can be a part of the fruit. For example, it depends on the type of the plant. Maybe in the case of tea dust, tea leaves. Maybe in the case of lemon fruit. Maybe in the case of neem, it is a neem extract, neem leaves. Depends on the type of the plant that you are using. It may be from the leaf, stem, or root, or fruit, etc. But in all part can be used. All part in general can be extracted and can be utilized, and it can serve the purpose. So, but depending on the organic compound or the reducing agent that is present, the rate of the reaction or the efficiency of the reaction can be little here and there.
Yes.
I hope I answered.
Thank you.
Anything else? You will do this experiment. 2 experiments are there. Chemical synthesis of gold nanoparticle is one experiment. Green synthesis of gold nanoparticle or silver nanoparticle using neem extract or tea extract or mint extract. There is another experiment. You will enjoy it. You will see the SPR band also. You will record the UV visible and see the SPR band. Okay? Yeah. Thank you. See you.
Thank you, sir.
See you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.